like those over there. Cucumbers made with this method always turn out crunchy, even if you buy them at the store. And see that white coating on the cucumbers over there? That means they're ready too. Hello everyone, this is the Food on Fire channel. Today I'll show you my favorite recipe, my absolute favorite recipe for cucumbers for the winter. No vinegar, just salt. It's great, everyone knows it. Well, back home, at home, and also back in Solidarity, I remember many people had different cucumbers. They made them in a completely different way, but these are exactly my favorite ones. Let's go. You need a jar, cucumbers, and of course dill. If you have it, you should use dill from your own garden. These dill umbrellas will make it even tastier. But if you don't have it, just use what you have. What can you do? Horseradish leaves, cherry leaves, all of that is good, but we'll get to that in the process. If you have any of these, it'll be even tastier, even better. We used to have a lot of black currant leaves, but then when everything was kind of destroyed, we lost them. Here where I'm filming, there aren't any. I don't know where to find them, so I'll be making it without them. But with them, it would be even tastier, much tastier. Also, what else we'll need from the basics is hot pepper and garlic, but that's optional. I've always made it with these spices and it tasted much better to me. Here we have bay leaf, allspice and black pepper. Let's start cooking. We'll add salt later. Let's prepare the cucumbers. I soaked them in water for a few hours first so they won't absorb as much brine and will stay crunchier. By the way, with this recipe, everything turns out really crunchy and perfect. Add about 3 or 4 bay leaves. You can even put a bit more. I always make it really spicy. I put allspice at the bottom. I like it when you can really taste the allspice, but you don't have to add it. If you want it to be super spicy, you can add about 10 pieces. Take a teaspoon of black pepper. The great thing about this recipe is that it's done in 2 stages. I always like that because it's not too stressful. You know how with tomatoes, when you have to drain and pour them several times, it's always a hassle, but this one is done in 2 stages, so it's just easier to make. I don't know, I just throw it all in, that's it. As for the garlic, add as much as you like. I love garlic, so I put in a good amount. So you can throw in about 10 cloves. There's dill. As for how much, I always add spices and herbs by eye. I always like to put in more, you know, I just prefer it that way. Horseradish. Can't do without it. Pickles without horseradish. Well, it's not the same. Cherry leaves. This thing will throw in 7 and we start laying out the cucumbers. I always try to lay them like this, one by one. By the way, this recipe uses that notorious fermentation at the first stage, which is why you don't need any vinegar or anything here. Basically, we put them in like this. We'll also be adding some pepper here. I will cut it into pieces like this. You can leave it whole, but then you need to pierce it. I mean, you'll have to poke it with a fork so it absorbs better, and then add it in as well. We add everything in. You add the pepper to your taste. If you like it really spicy, add a lot of hot pepper. If you prefer it less spicy, add less. I love spicy food, so I add a lot of pepper. Well, that should be just fine. Okay. We stuffed it, and look what else I'm going to do. I have some left. There are still a few pickles left, you know, those famous lightly salted pickles. I have a small bucket now, so we'll make some in it. These are for canning, and they'll be like before, with leaves, horseradish, and everything as before. Garlic, pepper, bay leaf, black pepper, allspice, dill, and we throw them in here too. Look now, no matter how many of these spices and seasonings you put in, it'll still turn out tasty. There aren't any exact measurements, but I'll write down how much I used for a 3-liter jar. There just aren't any strict measurements. It's all up to your taste, you know? Actually, I even use more because I really like a rich, spicy flavor, especially when there's allspice in there. I just like it. But if you add less, it's not a big deal. Everything will still turn out fine. This is the kind of recipe that always works out. Cover everything on top with these leaves. These will be like lightly salted ones, but there's a nuance. These are for winter. Now let's make the brine. The brine is made without anything extra. 100 kilograms, just like my mom showed me before. That's how I've always done it. For the cucumbers, I always use 2.5 tablespoons of salt per liter of water. I never calculated how much goes into a jar. There's a 3-liter jar. I boiled 2 liters of water, so that means 5 tablespoons of salt. 2.5 tablespoons of salt per liter of water. Here we have 2 liters of water, so I add 5 tablespoons of salt. Just scoop the salt as it comes. 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5. No fuss. If you get more on the spoon, that's fine. If less, that's fine too. No problem at all. Now, we'll bring all this to a boil. We just need it to boil so the salt dissolves, and then we'll pour it over what's in the jar. Once it's boiled and the salt is dissolved, we pour it over the cucumbers. I pour carefully to avoid cracking the sterilized jar. There won't be any recipe in Telegram this time. I'll write the full recipe under the video so everything is clear for you. Look, I have a little bit of this brine left. I'm not throwing it away. I'll just set it aside somewhere for now. Why? Because the cucumbers might absorb a bit of the liquid. By tomorrow morning, if I leave it like this and come back, some of the liquid will have already been absorbed by the cucumbers. So I'll just top it off with this brine cold and add more if needed. Now just cover it with a lid and definitely put a plate underneath, because during fermentation some of the liquid will spill out, so it's only partial. Place a plate underneath to catch spills and leave the jar as is. Depending on the ambient temperature, it will vary. If it's very hot, the process will go faster. If it's cool, it will take longer. Just leave it at room temperature, somewhere on a table or windowsill. It doesn't matter. You just set it down like this, cover it, and in a couple of days you'll start to see some interesting things happening here. First, the brine will start to get cloudy, and second, it will begin to rise a bit and overflow. A white foam-like film should form here, really white, covering the surface. Then it will be considered more or less ready, and the cucumbers should darken. Don't worry, I'll show you everything. And now we're making lightly salted ones. Look, the process is the same, but we pour cold water, mix in 2.5 tablespoons per liter of water, and pour with cold water, keep pouring. How does it work next? For the first couple of days, they become lightly salted, tasty, crunchy, lightly salted cucumbers. Who likes lightly salted ones? Personally, I prefer the ones that aren't lightly salted. And the longer you keep them, they change color and become fermented. The beneficial bacteria start working, producing lactic acid, and the cucumber gets more sour each time, getting more and more sour every day. And you can start eating them on the 3rd or 4th day, or you can wait a bit longer. I usually make myself a whole pot, and starting from about the 5th day, I eat some each day, and by the time they're finished, it's all gone. At this point, I have delicious tangy pickles. I use 2.5 tablespoons and a liter of water. I mix it well and pour everything in. More cucumbers are better. We only have a few. If using a pot, press them down with something like a plate so nothing is above the surface. That's because mold will start to appear if they sit for too long. But we don't have many here, so they won't last that long anyway, so I won't bother with it. That's it. I'm just going to put them away somewhere now. Oh, this lid doesn't fit. I think it's from something else. I'll just put them away, and definitely put a plate underneath, because if they sit for a while, they'll start to leak. We'll leave the bucket and the jar on the table and let them sit. Later, I'll record and show you what happens next. We'll eat this right away, and this one we just cover like this and leave it, and that's it. For now, we just wait. It will take about a week, 5, 6, or 7 days. I'll record and show you everything. See you in the next one in a couple of days. Friends, for you it was just a moment, but for us, to be honest, it's already been 7 days. Go ahead and film it so I don't have to lift it. Look, over there it flowed down a little, just like I said. You need to put something underneath, see? There are streaks on the jar from dripping. The cucumbers have clearly darkened and become much deeper in color. Also look, I don't know if you can see it or not, but a film might form on top. That means it's all done. Or maybe this mold here, this is good mold, don't worry. You'll notice a white coating on the cucumbers, or it may settle over them, indicating they're ready. Whether the coating appears on the cucumbers or on top, your cucumbers will darken as a result. You'll notice the difference by the smell. That's it. We'll set this batch aside for now. It's lightly salted and used the same process. Look, the garlic has turned green. That's the infamous, lobio garlic. I think it's Chinese, the one they eat, and it's that color. That means acid formed there. We pour all the brine into some container. I hope this one will be enough for us. We'll boil it. The brine's already boiling. Now we just pour this brine back into the jar. Pickles made with this method always turn out crunchy, even if you buy them at the store. By the way, I bought these at the store. I don't have a garden, I rent a house. We poured it in, look how beautiful the brine turns out. I sterilized the jar lid and the jar itself beforehand, and now I'm sterilizing the lid again. Just poured boiling water over it and let it sit, that's all. Now I just screw it on, and that's it. That's it, you leave it and you'll get the crunchiest, tastiest and really interesting pickles in the winter. You can place it upside down on the lid or wrap it. My mom always did it that way, but I sometimes do it differently. It's your choice. We looked at these cucumbers and now let's take a look at these ones. Now let's see, these were made exactly the same way. I just poured cold water over them. Even one floated up. I poured cold water over them and they don't seal. It's also been 7 days. At first my mouth was watering. Even in the first 3 days, you can already start eating them. They'll be lightly salted, those very lightly salted cucumbers. After that, they'll start turning into ones like you see over there. There's a slight white coating here, but that's nothing to worry about. It's all good for you. They're still more like lightly salted than pickled, but not exactly lightly salted anymore. Probably more like salty. Oops. If you make a bit more of them and let them sit a little longer, they'll start to change. The longer you leave them, the more sour they get, and eventually they turn into these regular ones, like when you open tasty and fragrant oops in the winter. To summarize, I'll write a very detailed recipe so you won't be confused. My earlier explanation was a bit chaotic since it became 2 recipes. And if you like the video, I'll show you another cucumber recipe for winter. Visually, they're just top-notch, marinated with whole heads of garlic. It's just amazing. So, leave comments, share the video, spread it with your friends on social media. Basically, it's all up to you. Thank you all very much. See you next time. Bye, everyone.